Hey guys, Mr. Milton here. Today we're going to talk about algebraic expressions and equations. At the end of this video, you should be able to define a variable or variables in the context of a problem, and you should be able to write an algebraic expression or equations from words. A variable is an unknown or hidden quantity. A letter is typically used to represent a variable. Okay, it doesn't always have to be a letter, but that's when you get to algebra, stops being like the funny smiley faces and stuff and becomes letters, easy to represent. Okay, an algebraic expression is a mathematical phrase that includes at least one variable and does not contain variable and does not contain an equal sign. No equal sign in an expression. An algebraic equation is a mathematical sentence that includes at least one variable and does include or does contain an equal sign. And the equal sign is like the word is. Okay, which can change a phrase into a sentence. Okay, a number increased. So here's some examples. Here's a phrase. Okay, a number increased by 4. So we can say, okay, a number, that's n, we'll just use for n for a number, increased by 4 plus 4, n plus 4. This is an algebraic expression, no equal sign. A number increased by 4 is 7. So now a number increased by 4, still n plus 4, is 7. Okay, now this is an algebraic equation. Okay, and then now we would be able to find out what n is. In the first expression, we would not be able to. There's no way to find out what n is. Okay. Okay, when we define, so we have to define a variable. When we define variables, and notice we just did this up here for this problem, and that's just simple saying n stands for that number that we don't know. When we define a variable, we are stating that our letters represent or stand for, or what our letters represent or stand for in a specific situation. Without doing this, our variable has no meaning. Okay, and in a math class, the whole reason we use variables is to have a meaning, to find a efficient way to write what we're saying. Okay, so make sure that you define your variables and you know what it means. It helps you out a lot. Okay, so for this first problem, for this example, it says define a variable and write an algebraic expression for the following phrase: Mark's weight minus 12. Well, here I'm going to say m is Mark's weight. Capitalize M. Okay, and so now when I write the expression Mark's weight minus 12, say m minus 12. And now I can just say m instead of Mark's weight. Okay, now the point of defining this is so that I know what it means when I come back to it. So here's some practice that says define a variable and write an algebraic expression for each phrase. So the first one, the quotient of triple a number and 7. Okay. So the thing that we don't know is a number. I'm going to say it's n. Quotient means division, so the quotient of triple a number and 7. So triple means that we're going to be multiplying the number in. Quotient means that we're going to be dividing. The quotient of triple a number and 7. Alright? And here you see that I didn't have to say n is a number. I underlined it and wrote it here. So this is another acceptable way to define a variable. Okay? Number 2, it says 2/3 of the amount increased by 5. So say A is the amount. Okay, so 2/3 of the amount, 2/3 of the amount increased by 5. That means I'm adding it. adding 5 to it. And then this last one on this page, 1 less than the number of children. So number of children, I'm going to put C for that. Okay, 1 less than the number of children. Now, this is kind of tricky because a lot of people will look at this and go from left to right and say, oh, it's at 1 minus children. That is not how it will work out. Especially with subtraction, you have to make sure that you're subtracting it from something. Okay, so this is a no-go. Okay, 1 less than the number of children means we're taking the number of children and we're subtracting 1 from it. Okay, always if you're in a bind or you don't know what's happening or you don't feel like you will get it right or are getting it right, plug in a number. Okay, so let's say if I had 3 children, 1 less than 3 would be 2. Let me make sure I'm setting it up so that my answer would be 2. Okay, because if I said 1 minus 3, well, I'd get negative 2. I don't have negative 2 children. That would show me, okay, I think I'm doing this in the wrong order. Okay, so make sure you're especially careful with subtraction. Okay, some more practice. It says to find the variables and write an algebraic equation for each sentence in the table. Okay, so here we go. I am going to ask that you do this first one to get by yourself and bring it in, complete it. Okay, now let's look at number 2. Number 2 says the number of goats is 10 less than triple the number of rabbits. Okay, so we're going to write an algebraic equation. Remember, this does not say solve it, so we just have to worry about writing it. Number of goats, I'm going to use G. The number of rabbits, I'm going to use R. Okay, so the number of goats is, so goats is, remember is our equal sign, 10 less than triple the number of rabbits. So here we have subtraction, right? So you need to make sure that we're subtracting that from something. We're subtracting it from triple the number of rabbits. So 3R minus 10. Okay, the number of goats is 10 less than triple the number of rabbits. Alright, that's how it goes. Okay, number 10. Now, this is a situation that they don't give us the sentence. This is in a table. But we can still do it the same way. I'm going to say T is the total cost. I'm going to say C is change. Okay? Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have it set up in a way that we can write an equation from this. Okay, so this is how it works. The situation is changed from a 10. So we're going to start off with $10. That's how the situation is set up here. So 10 is definitely going to be our start. And we're going to give the cashier $10. Let's say the cashier $10. And what the cashier does is he takes away the total cost. However much it costs, he takes it away from us. And then what we get, our change, is whatever's left from that. Okay? And so we give the cashier $10. He takes away all the money that we owe him and gives us back our change. So if I gave him $10 and the total cost was $9, just seeing how this works, 10 minus 9, then our change would be 1. If I plug in my values from the table and it makes this true, then I can feel pretty confident that I set up the equation in a correct way. Okay, so 10 minus T equals C. Notice I define the variable here, at least for myself, by putting those variables above the columns. Okay, all right. Okay, so there you have it, looking at variables, expressions, and equations. See ya.